Hey guys, it's time for another video of my shamanic experience. This is more of a video to just listen to while you're doing whatever, driving to work or whatever, cleaning the house. It's just something to listen to. I have a picture on there to, just because it's YouTube and you have to, have some sort of video to go with the sound, but this is really more like listen to my journey. It's not necessarily a video to watch. Anywho, this is my shamanic journey number 8, and this took place in October 2016. And I just want to let you guys know that this is all my opinion. I don't recommend doing anything you're not comfortable doing, and I do not recommend doing anything that is not within the laws of the land. That's just how it is. So, without further ado, one more thing. So this journey, this recall, is going to be much different than the previous ones. The previous ones, I wrote it in my journal, and I read it to you pretty much straight from my journal. In this video, I have like notes, and I'm just gonna read the notes and then talk. Like, for example, I have one that says sound healing. So when I say sound healing, I'm gonna show you, this is what happened, this is so on and so forth. So we'll see how this works out. So without further ado, here we go. Light some Palo Santo here, and away we go. Okay, so shamanic journey number 8, sound healing. So after we arrived and set up all our stuff, and the altar was set up and everything was set up, and the healer would ask everybody to calm our minds and just to go within for a little while. And so they had a man started playing some music. I'm gonna say he's a healer. And anyway, so he started playing the flute, and it was very relaxing, and I felt very like I could feel my vibrations, rising, like just very relaxing. And then he started playing this didgeridoo, and I could really feel my vibrations going woo. I mean, I felt like I was like as if it was journeying, but without visuals. Like I felt like my body's kind of shaking, the vibrations up and down my spine, mostly up, just waves of up vibration going up. And I was like, wow. I mean, I felt like I was already on the medicine. So after the sound healing had finished, I drank my first dose, and then I sat back down and I meditated. And my intentions for this work was to experience love and to develop trust, to get over my trust issues. So they started saying the Lord's Prayer, and during the prayer I imagined my spirit in a force field with gold and violet flame and blue energy. At the time, that was my that was kind of like my shield, my spiritual shield. It's spiritual warfare. So you're going to, if you're going to do some spiritual warfare, you need a shield. Icaros. So the Icaros started playing, and I got really nauseous. So I went outside and I purged near a tree, or I went out of the circle and I purged near a tree. And as I was purging, I feel my feet. My feet felt like they were being pulled out from under me, kind of like I was being like, as if something from the sky was like lifting my feet out from under me and pulling me up towards the sky. It was a very surreal experience, but it was kind of frightening at the same time, you know. It wasn't like I was dreaming this. It was here in what we call reality. Here, I felt something pulling me up towards the sky. Uh, and it was frightening, to be honest. But I knew that I was protected, I was in good hands, and that I just needed to ground. And although my intuition felt like it was the tree's energy pulling me up, I was also using the tree's energy to ground me, because the trees are very well grounded. Their roots go deep within the earth. And so I imagined my roots going deep within the earth as well, which, helped me to ground. So as soon as I felt grounded, I went back inside, and then I laid down. So almost as soon as I laid down, just moments later, maybe a couple breaths, I started seeing behind my eyelids just a bunch of amoeba-like parasites. They were just like thousands of them just covering my eyelids, like as if I was just covered with these amoeba-like parasites. And I I kept feeling nauseous. It would come on, then it would go away, then it would come on and go away, right? And so I knew that I didn't have anything more to vomit because I already tried vomiting. So I kind of told myself that, okay, so I'm not enjoying this experience that's happening right now, so I'm gonna just go to sleep and I'm gonna sleep it away, and then when I wake up, everything will be over, the ceremony will be over, and everything will be fine, right? Not a good idea, by the way. I do not recommend that, but that's what I did. So I tried to go to sleep. So as soon as I felt myself drifting away into what I think is dreamland or sleepland, or what I thought was dreamland, I heard a very frightening screeching echo, kind of like like as if you were to imagine you were in like a big tunnel, right? Have you ever been in a big tunnel underground? And if somebody's like working at the far end of the tunnel, there's like this pinging sound that goes throughout the tunnel, like a ping. I don't know how else to describe it. It's kind of like a sonar sound, but it's more like at the end of a tunnel, right? And that was very interesting to hear that. I wasn't like frightened, but yet I wasn't serene at the same time. I wasn't calm at the same time. It wasn't like it was just an odd sound that I'm not used to hearing, but yet it wasn't scary at the same time. But then I started to see these amoebas kind of faded away, and then these gray aliens came in its place. And I felt like they were like kind of pulling me away, and I didn't want to go with them because I kept, I had this like fear of alien abduction. I didn't want to be abducted. And even though I, may not be physical, I also don't want spiritual either. I don't want to be spiritually abducted either. I don't want to be abducted, period, right? So it's like, if you guys want me to go anywhere, then talk to me, Let's develop a relationship, and then we can, talk about going places, right? I don't recommend going anywhere with any beings, spirits, or what have you, without developing a relationship. And back then, that was just my intuition saying, hey, I don't know you guys, I don't want to go anywhere with you right now. But they wouldn't talk. So I was kind of just staring. And then eventually they went away. And I felt this very intense energy buildup in my head, like a electric energy. And I remind you that I'm still laying down at this time. My eyes are still closed. And then I started hearing the doors, shutting. It almost seemed like, I mean, to me it sounded like someone ran out the door and slammed it as they were running away from the ceremony. Sometimes I get that. Later on I find out that, nobody was running away from the ceremony. And I kind of think like maybe that's my ego trying to build fear, like, ooh, someone else is running away, maybe I should run away, And now when those thoughts come to me, I just kind of put them in the corner. Just tell ego to, to just kind of sit in the corner. Okay, just observe. Don't react. Just observe. Everything's fine. Nobody's being harmed, including myself. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. Just sit and observe. So then I started to hear like rumbling, like somebody was up and they were like trying to get out, but the healers were preventing them from get out. And there was like this. It sounded like this man was charging at the healer that was singing the Icaros, and the guitar was playing, and I just saw like by hearing these sounds in my visual, I saw the visuals of I visualized a visualization, my imagination of the healers singing with the guitar, and there's a bull, like a great bull spirit rushing at him, and he's just dodging it and singing and just playing with the bull as the bull's trying to take him out. The healer's just moving and enjoy, and this bull's just getting more and more frustrated as the healer's just so joyful and playing around with them. And then finally the bull tires out and just goes and lays down as the healer keeps singing the Icaros. And it's very interesting to witness that. It was kind of like I don't know. I mean, a fear, I guess. I know in this work you face a lot of fears. Maybe that was a fear. I was afraid that someone was going to get up and attack the healer, and that was me kind of working through that. So there was a point where I opened my eyes, and it was kind of like I had to struggle to open my eyes, and it was dark. It was nighttime by this time. And I was like, whoa, where did the time go? Right? Like, it did not feel like I was down there for hours. It felt like I was down there maybe 30 minutes. But then my heart felt very weak, and no, it felt like pressure, but no pain. There was no pain. And I still felt very sleepy, and it was very hard to stay awake. But I knew that it was best for me to stay awake. And so I stood up, and at this point everybody was dancing, so I was like, okay, maybe I should dance along. I want to, let's try to stay with the group, right? And so I was, kind of dancing along, and then I got a lot of energy, and then I felt like the dancing energy moving through my body, and it was like creating like this liquid kind of dancing within me. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was like liquid dance. Like my muscles, I could feel the energy moving towards and around my muscles, kind of like a ball would move through water, and it was like this, just this energy ball was moving through my body like my body was liquid, and it was very cool. I was like, oh, okay. And the thought came to my mind, like, maybe this is how one discovers, breakdancing, or, have you guys ever seen the Boogie Bots, or, you know, uh, the kind of dancing that they have? I forget that really popular dance group. They wear masks. I don't remember their name, but anyway, any dance group that you see, they'll do like this liquid dance thing, and I was like doing that, like just feeling the energy flow through me, and as the energy was flowing through me, that was happening. It was very cool, very relaxing, in fact, and it was almost like massaging my muscles at the same time. I definitely recommend it. And you don't need any, just be sensitive to the energy, and you can do it. Dancers do it all the time. I'm not a dancer by any means, but with the medicine, it helped me to open myself to the possibility of dancing, and it was great. So then I felt like the universe was revolving around me, because I swear it seemed like everybody was staring at me. Like I was the center of everything at that point. And so naturally, I kind of had a panic attack. Uh, well, okay, so a panic attack, but at the same time, a controlled one. So it was an inner panic attack. I wasn't like outwardly expressing it and freaking out. It was inward. Um, I started to see what I thought was. So we have these papers when we're singing, Narios, and I thought there was blood dripping on the paper from my nose, and so I checked my nose, and my nose wasn't bleeding, and so um, I I didn't know what to think of it, and I was like, okay, that's just something I'm seeing. Maybe it's a internal fear. I just need to observe it and get over it. I'm okay. I'm not bleeding. Check my nose. I'm not bleeding. Okay. Um, and now that I think about it, maybe it was like some coffee stain or something on the paper. I don't know, but when you're in that spiritual, that altered state of mind where you're like half in the spirit realm, half in this realm, it's like things sometimes may not look exactly like what they are. Um, your perception can change. So then I realized that my reality is not necessarily in my control. Um, I looked out the windows and I was like kind of freaking out that like others were like gonna come around and like look, like I swear I saw like uh, sirens or something like that, like emergency sirens. I've dealt with this in other ceremonies before. Like I had a salvia ceremony where there was sirens, and I had to deal with that fear of emergency, and I swear, like I started seeing the red lights flashing outside, and I was like, whoa, no, 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 that is not happening. That is not going to happen. And it was like I realized that Pachamama, the spirit of the earth, um, she controls our reality, and through this medicine, through the shamanic work, she's slowly helping me to realize what my reality is. That the reality that I've been living this all my life is not necessarily what I perceive it to be. And she's slowly trying to open that up for me. And kinda in a way, as ego breaks down, the reality kinda gets destroyed in a way, and metaphorically it gets destroyed. And at that moment I realized that she could either do it quickly or she could do it slowly. And when it's done quickly, I freak out. And so I'm like just working with her, asking her, okay, I'm open to the possibilities. Just do it at a pace that that I'm somewhat comfortable with, And so I realized that at that moment, Pachamama can either destroy my reality or she can bend it. She can, she can slowly bend it over time and shape it, kind of like shaping clay, where you can completely destroy the clay and just boom, something new. And I asked to slowly slowly shape that reality, slowly shape that clay. I swear I felt like she was just raining over, like just like we were all like in her presence, like we were all in her womb. This literally felt like that. Like her presence was so huge and gigantic. It was like she is. She just is. That Mother Earth is. So, moving on. So I realized at that point that my reality could either be destroyed gently or it could be destroyed through a horrific nightmare. But the choice is mine. So suddenly, as I was going through these thoughts, a healer, the main healer, she came over and she was like, oh, so they were all singing, right? And then suddenly she starts hooting, like, woo, like not roaring, but like whoa, like woo, right? And making like these the sounds of a bird, right? And so I was like, oh, cool, she's manifesting the eagle or the crane or whatever her bird spirit is, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? And then so she like starts flying, right? And she flies directly across the circle right in front of me. And she's like flapping her wings and she goes around me and she like spins in a circle and she's like cawing, right? And I feel like she's trying to get me to follow her, right? So she spins in a circle, goes around me again, flies out, walks, whatever, runs out with her arms spread, and then looks back at me, makes another circle, and then goes a couple more feet, looks back at me, and then I'm like, oh, I need to go with her, right? So I walk with her, right? And she's circling and runs around me, and then she's running outside, right? And she looks back at me and then, kind of motions for me to follow her, so I like run with her. And I just felt like, hey, whatever, let's just do this. And I just spread my wings and I was like, right on, whatever, whatever wants to help me at this point, right? Because I'm kind of freaking out, so I felt like this great eagle like energy just went through my arms and just kind of spread my arms as if my arms were wings itself. And no, I didn't think I could fly at this point, but I felt like it, just this powerful eagle-like energy was spreading through my arms. Like, if it's hard to explain, but so I went with that, and we flew outside the circle. We ran outside the circle with our arms spread, and no, it didn't feel like flying. I didn't think I was gonna fly, anything like that. But as soon as I went out of the circle, somehow the fear kind of overtook me, and I felt like I was going to be led behind the barn and shot with a shotgun. I don't know where the thought came from. It may be a fear of a past lifetime or something. But I felt like I was going to be led around the corner and then shot with a shotgun. And so I didn't go outside the circle with her, and she ran around a tree, and I didn't, and then disappeared. I didn't see her after that. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not gonna go out there and get shot. So I just kind of turned around and walked back to the circle. The interesting thing was that the previous fear that I had of my reality turning into a horrific nightmare just vanished as I was walking back to my spot. It just vanished. I didn't think about it again. And I did notice that moments later, the healer, she walked back in the circle as well, and she was back, to herself. She wasn't flying anymore. So at that point, I attempted to hold my grounding and to keep focus on hymns that were being sung, and to not manifest, nightmares, but to instead not to entertain a nightmare-like reality, because when one is on the medicine, it's pretty amazing what they can manifest. And if you're thinking of nightmares, chances are one can manifest those into their reality. You're choosing your reality at this point. And so because I realized that I was choosing my reality at that point, I thought of good thoughts, and I focused on the hymns, because that is what I was. I was focusing on the now. The here in the now is my reality. And that's what kept me grounded. And I stayed grounded for the rest of the ceremony, just focusing on the here and the now. No matter how tired I felt or weak or whatever, I focused on the here and the now. And it got me through it. But during the sharing circle, we're all sitting down, and even though I had a back jack to kind of, hold my back up, I still felt very sleepy, excuse me, very sleepy. And I slowly did regain my, sense of reality, and, I never lose touch of my five senses. I think that's very important. You hear many psychonauts that talk about, losing touch with their five senses, and that, this is all matrix, and, everything's fake. And I feel like that's not something that should be entertained. There was a time where I did think that maybe entertain the thought that this is all matrix, and like physically, metaphorically, society is a matrix. I agree to that, metaphorically, but not physically. We don't live in a matrix. These spirits are not programs. Um, Mother Earth is not a program. We don't live in a, the stars are not motherboards and computer chips. I mean, I can't believe some of the things I hear from psychonauts, those who mess with medicine without any shamanic guidance, can be led really far astray. And I've seen many be led far astray, and I just send them positive energy and pray for them. So anyway, I digress. So let me get back on topic. So I did regain my my sense of reality, my here, being here, my being with the people there, the people that I've connected with within the circle, and I also thought of the importance of a strong mantra for ceremony. Something that helps to ground, and the hymns act, the hymns, they act as mantras. They do help with grounding, but I feel like maybe I should find a mantra that will help me stay grounded even when the hymns are not being sung, even when I don't have this book in front of me, reading the words, but instead I have my eyes closed. I'm in this meditative state, and I need to find that mantra that helps me to stay grounded, but yet be open to the lessons that Mother Earth, the Holy Spirit, wants to teach me. So, when we're all eating and we're sharing, I spoke to two of the guardians, two of the healers, people that I trust and that has been doing this work for years. I asked them about other divinities such as Shiva, Buddha, because I know that within their work they like to focus on Jesus, Mary, Joseph, Saint Michael, Saint Peter, and so on and so forth, and all these saints and the and also the Umbada religion from Africa. They're also included within the work. So Yamanja is a very popular one. Oshun, the water spirits, spirit of the ocean, spirit of the rivers and dance. And so I was just asking, what about like the Egyptian deities or the Indian deities or anything like that? And pretty much their answer was all positive forms of divinity are welcome. So if you see this divinity or the spirit that you've been working with, if you see them as positive, then bring them into the circle. And you can work with them within the circle, that's fine. So I was kind of surprised about that, because I thought for sure, they'd be like, oh no, only these, these divinities, only these spirits, we have a list of, and it wasn't like that at all. It was more like, if you feel positive vibes from them, then, bring them in the circle. And so I thought that was pretty cool. That was, it was nice to see that they were very open-minded. And then I asked the healer that that I was, for lack of a better word, flying with, and she just straight up said, "I didn't fly with you. My guide, flew with you. That was my guide," and she told me the name, but I don't remember the name of it. But her spirit guide flew with me. So she didn't really talk much about it or go into great detail. She just told me that that was her spirit guide. So that was something I had to meditate on for a while. So the lessons that I learned for this work is sleeping is not a back door. So in other words, you can't get out of the ceremony by falling asleep. In fact, it puts you deeper and deeper into it, and I don't recommend it. I really don't. So if you feel sleepy during a ceremony, sit up. Get air to your brain. It really helps to ground. Another lesson is that Pachamama can destroy my reality at any moment, and that was humbling. And when in ceremony, all participants are journeying together. So this is not just individual work, but it's a circle. We're all working together. So there's a certain flow that even though you're going within, there's still a flow that you need to keep up with the circle. In other words, I should not ignore what's going on within the circle. I should not ignore what's going on in this realm, but instead send healing energy with the healers. So instead of ignoring the sounds and the rumbling and what I envisioned as bullfighting or bull dancing or whatever you want to call it, I learned that I should actually send healing energy to what I think of as the bull, to the sound, to the slamming of the door or whatever. That energy of panic. I need to send loving, calming energy to that place. Another lesson that I learn over and over again, keeps trying to get through my hard head, is that the purpose of medicine is not to journey. I'll say that again. The purpose of medicine is not to journey. It is for healing. I gotta make a shirt out of that. The purpose of medicine is not to journey, but it is for healing. It's healing purposes. It is important to believe in a divinity for my own sanity. I'm still working on that one, but that was one lesson at the time that I needed. It was important to believe in a divinity for my own sanity, and that could be my inner divinity, or it could be, and when I mean divinity, I just mean teacher from another realm. Let's say that, or let's just put it at that, like ascended master, or I don't know. I need to still think about that one. But it is important to be open to the possibility. Not necessarily believe, not a belief system, but to be open to the possibility that there are divine beings in other realities that want to communicate with the beings of this reality, like myself. So I need to find my divinity. That was one of the lessons at that time, was I need to find my divinity. I realized I had trust issues, and she showed me I had jealousy issues. She showed me that I doubt everything, but I'm afraid of everything also. I must face my fears one way or another, which we all do. I totally agree. This work is all about facing fears one way or another. The medicine is the only medicine that I need. I don't necessarily agree with that anymore, but it could be. Shamanic healing and prayers make the medicine work. and not the chemical reaction of the plants, but the spirits of the plants. And that is so true. I used to think that if you drink more, you'll get, you'll go further, and that's not true at all, I find. I've had times where it's 3 cups and I've haven't really journeyed far, and then there's been times where I've had like half a cup and I've been like, far into another realm. So yeah, shamanic healing and prayers make the medicine work, not the chemical reactions of the plants, but the spirits of the plants. This is spiritual work, not psychedelic journeying. I am not learning to be a psychonaut. I am learning to be a spiritual healer. That's a shamanic practice. So in a way I'm learning how to be a shaman, my own shaman. I'm learning how to be my own shaman by learning from other shamans. Many people might think that to be your own shaman is to brew your own medicine, to just, drink the medicine at home, even with one other person or one sitter, and then, you go on these fantastic adventures and stuff. I used to think that that was okay. Now I'm going to say no. Just like in order to learn martial arts, you must find a martial artist to learn from. Same with shamanic healing. If you want to be a shamanic healer, you need to find shamanic healers to work with. And I am so grateful that I have found a circle that has a vast tradition of shamanic healing. Years and years and years of shamanic healing. I'm so grateful for it. And I really hope that you all find that shamanic circle. And I believe that if you truly hear the call, that you will find that shamanic circle, and you will work with shaman to do this work. But I do not believe in doing it by yourself anymore. To be your own shaman means that you find a shaman to learn from. It does not mean that you go and take medicine on your own and trust everything that comes into your vicinity. Too many times I hear people talk about how, they come in contact with these aliens and they go on these, spaceships and whatnot, and this is, in the spirit realm. I'm not saying physically, I'm saying, in the spirit realm, or, or they've been whisked away by some spirit, or, or some family member or something, and they're taken to another dimension and so on and so forth. And it's like, no, that's how you get deceived. Too many times have I seen people become deceived this way. They just meet the spirit, and then they choose to just go off with them somewhere, and then they're just told, oh, this is the truth, this is this is reality, this is what's happening in this universe. And they just, being a human, we're not shown this all the time, so we don't really have a choice but to kind of take the word for it. I mean, there's this majestic looking, overwhelming spirit that's telling you that the universe is like this. You don't really have any choice but to believe. But in shamanic work, we have protection, and we have this strong circle, a circle of protection that only allows divine spirits, only allows positive energy to come and work with us. And they do not take you away your first time. They will develop a relationship with you. They will say, pretty much who they are and what, or show you. Sometimes they don't talk, but in my experience, the only beings that want to take me away somewhere are beings that are not, they don't feel right. There's something not right about it. And trust your intuition is my my greatest advice is trust your intuition and do not do these things alone. Not even with your wife or husband or whatever, not just with one other person either, not just with one sitter. You need a shaman. You need community. If you look at the plants, they grow in community. All psychedelic plants, they grow in community. The ayahuasca vine is actually a group of vines growing together. Little vines grow together that form this gigantic vine, the ayahuasca vine. It's a community growing together. Mushrooms are a community growing together. San Pedro Washuma is a community growing together, and they're always growing up, so they're always going towards the light, sunlight. They're going towards the light. Deep roots within Mother Earth to grow strong up towards the light of the sun. I'm going to end with that. Thank you for listening, and please remember to ground to Mother Earth through any kind of spiritual work you do.